It's the dawn of a new age, the dawn of a new age indeed. And I've been doing a lot of thinking, and there's a lot of stuff going around about Black Pill and the halo and horn effect. And what is my honest opinion on it? What do I think about it? How do I feel about it? Well, if I'm being incredibly honest, I think it's a load of horseshit to some extent, but at the same time, I also think it makes sense in its own way. Let me explain. Upon getting information from the black pill and how the black pill works, there are people who, give out the information in a wrong way, almost by saying, oh, yeah, well, if you're ugly, so deal with it, get good or get wrecked. And you should also treat people the same way. But I almost very rarely hear people acknowledge the black pill as shitty behavior because depending on the context, that's what it can be. Now, what classifies as shitty behavior is if you're a service worker at a grocery and you're being way more kind and attentive to an attractive 20 something year old woman as opposed to, an older woman, like who's like 60 years old, has to use a cane. You have a higher chance of being more patient with the attractive woman and you're nicer to the attractive woman. And the same thing can go for like if it's men too. You tend to be a bit nicer to an attractive guy, and it doesn't even have to be based on sexuality or anything, and it's just based on the halo and horn effect where people have a higher chance of being nice to more attractive people. Now, where it isn't shitty behavior is per se you not being somebody's type or getting left on red. That is like a case where it's like, okay, don't cry about it, get good or get wrecked, be better, not bitter. My honest opinion, all these pills just give me a headache and I just don't get it most of the time. Okay, there's the red pill, which is just, oh yeah, like escape the matrix and, be free and know that, the world thinks this way and fight to not be this way. And the blue pill is just live in ignorance, follow the system, and just, be a slave to the world for your own good. It's all bad, but at the end of the day, I don't feel like identifying yourself with any pills is a good idea, especially if it's something as bleak and pessimistic as black pill. There are way more better and constructive ways to just, absorb the information of red pill or absorb the information from blue pill or absorb the information from the black pill without, thinking. Talk to somebody. And one thing that I will say, don't ever ask anyone to charge you for looks maxing advice. Like go on r/look your best, post a couple photos of yourself, and you could get basic advice from both men and women, on what you could do differently. And it could be something as small as your wardrobe, what you do with your hair, like the shape of like your facial hair. It could be anything almost, and things that you can or can't do, and ways to take care of your skin better. And it might not have anything to do with your face. For instance, I like this hat. This hat looks cool, but I don't think I'm wearing a particularly good mix of clothing with this hat. It's like I'm wearing like bland colors underneath, but then it's immediately like disbalanced with this hat. So this isn't really a good look for me. But if I wear a bunch of clothes that have like similar loud colors, or even better, red, beige, and blue, then I think I could pull it off better and I could have this cool, almost jet set radio look. But other than that, but since it looks like this, it's kind of dog shit. But really and truthfully, I'm just wearing it for shits and giggles and also to kind of get the point across. I know there's a weird common misconception, and this is something that is pushed within the red pill community the most getting, when it comes to finding love specifically, that I think is very predatory. Now, with the height thing, that's not brought up the most, but what people seem to talk about the most or bring up 6 foot tall, jacked guy making six figures, when really and truthfully, that's far from the truth. As far as the whole height thing goes, that's a myth. Now, in some cases, there are women who genuinely don't like dating dudes who are shorter than them. But you could fix that by just not dating, a woman who's taller than you. And even if, I don't know, you have like a weird giganticism fetish of sorts, one thing that I would suggest you do is to just be confident, make conversation still regardless, and just be yourself around them. And typically, like, any insecurities would not show way, because then it's gonna just be this nonsense of, oh, are you out cheating on me? And most people, I don't want to just generalize and say women, most people don't want that type of negative energy and that kind of drama in their life of, yeah, he's out cheating on me, or she's out cheating on me, and yeah, things are not, it's not going good, and just this hyper paranoid, territorial, vibe that comes with dating. It does not work out, and it never will work out in the end. And this ponytail, I didn't put this ponytail in properly, I realized. As far as physical attractiveness goes, like, your physique, I don't think you have to be built like Arnold to be. Now, while I do admit that if you have an unhealthy body, and when I mean unhealthy, I mean super unhealthy body that just looks like you don't you don't really take care of yourself that much, or gives off a vibe that you're lazy, then that is something that will kill you. I admit it's something that goes beyond physiques, your physique, but also just how you take care of your skin. What's your dental hygiene look like? How do your nails look? How do you take care of your skin? What do you do to take care of your skin? Is it good? Is it effective? Because it shows that if you aren't able to take care of yourself on that level, and you can't put that much effort in how you dress, then there's a chance that you're not going to really get with somebody very easily. And if you do, it's not going to be somebody you'd probably have a fun time being with. Best way I could probably describe the whole money thing is that typically, like with the whole money thing, that's really for the materialistic type of people, and not really just anyone. But one thing I would say is that it's not perfect. Obviously, if you're homeless or you have one job that just pays you $11 an hour, you live with your parents, and you're struggling to stay on budget, then that's a sign of immaturity there, and like a lack of being able to take care of yourself. So how do you expect to be able to take care of your partner too? Because otherwise you're going to just get with someone else who's also financially irresponsible in their own way, and that's just going to be a very chaotic relationship that will end very abruptly from what I've seen. But overall, when it comes to the black pill, just take this knowledge and use it as a way to improve yourself, and think about things that you can change, and don't focus on the things that you can't or aren't comfortable changing, like your skull structure. And you don't want to do things like plastic surgery, or anything like that, which I don't want to do either, because I'm very paranoid, and I don't think I want to be on botched and I end up looking like Michael Jackson in the worst way. But really and truthfully, if you have a specific style and aesthetic you're going for, just look at people who are liked within that sphere, or people who are successful within that sphere, and think about, okay, like, how can I make this work? And specifically, one thing I would suggest doing is by looking at people who are of a similar build to you, or look kind of like you within that style, and just see how it works out. And just go on Pinterest, go through photos of people and how they dress, and look at things that they don't that they do that's like positive, that makes people go, oh look, that looks so cool. And think about what you're doing wrong with the look. That can really help you when it comes to forging an aesthetic for yourself and just getting good results. Typically, again, this is going back to some personal stuff. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but personally, like, look, think about things you said when you were talking to this person, and what you were doing with that interaction that could have potentially have been a little wrong, and just don't do it again. Now, here's an ethical way I think you could use ChatGPT. An ethical way to use ChatGPT is by legit just asking it for advice, like, okay, how do I handle a situation like this? How do I deal with a situation like this? And I think one of the questions I had was that I asked was, I have a homophobic friend. Now, he's a very kind and generous person, but the gripe I have with him is that he makes a lot of homophobic comments that make me uncomfortable because there are people in my life who I know who are gay, who are like family to me, who have done to me certain kindnesses that, you know, other people haven't done. But he's also one of the people who do show kindness to me, but he doesn't show the same degree of kindness to people who I'm friends with who are within that sphere of life. So, how do I, in a constructive way, talk to him about this and just try to get his perspective? And I don't remember what the answer was really, but I think they told me to do it in a one-on-one setting, be super calm and civil, and don't immediately assume they're a bad guy. And just try to get why they're like that and understand like how they think and what the feeling is towards that whole thing of just immediately writing them off like this horrible person, because other than that they're not. Because then, you know, even though there's the homophobia that made me uncomfortable and made me find him very unempathetic, I didn't really get the vibe, or I don't get any kind of vibes that he's a bad person at all, other than that, because again, he's been super kind to me and, you know, really helped me with a lot of things and seems to genuinely have my best interest at heart, while I also have his best interest at heart too. So I don't want to immediately write him off as evil for just having an opinion. And we really did end up having a really good conversation that kind of changed things, where I begin to understand why he's like that and he kind of understands why I'm empathetic towards people like that. But that's a video for another day. Not about him, but just about, you know, why I think, you know, a lot of anti-LGBT can be a bit ridiculous sometimes. So yeah, use that in the context as to why, like, you know, ask ChatGPT about a situation you were in. Tell ChatGPT what you did, and or ask somebody, or even if you're not comfortable with that, ask somebody you're close to, you know, about what you did and like what you did wrong. You know, maybe you said something kind of weird, or you asked something of them that you shouldn't have asked them very early on. Like specifically, I think back then I had a problem with asking for calls. Back then, one thing I noticed and learned is that you don't just ask people to call you, because most of the time people aren't comfortable with calling you if they don't really know you that well, or there's an instance that they're not interested in doing that now. You never know with people, but that is something to take into consideration. But other than that, that's it. Uh, think about the black pill, think about the red pill, and think about the blue pill. But think about where you can value those things, but also understand where they can be kind of shitty and why you can't just be reliant on it. I kind of find the whole pill thing a bit cringe, because when you think about it, these guys talk about the red pill and the Matrix and stuff, and you know, base their whole ideology on a movie that was made by two trans women, ironically, and these tend to be the most like homophobic and transphobic people I've ever heard. It's insane, man. It's just insane. But yeah, that's about it for now. Goodbye.